Alright guys, here it is. Here is my video on how to start homeschooling. So how to start homeschooling. Who is this video for? It's for all those people contemplating homeschooling. It's even for the mums out there that think they could never do it. I could never homeschool. I hear mums say all the time, how do you do it? You must be so patient. Okay, that's not correct, okay, because we have all been homeschooling. From the second that doctor gave you that baby, okay, we figured it out. And who taught your baby how to crawl, walk, eat, talk? That's you. If your children are in school right now, or you're wondering whether or not you could ever do this, that jump that you don't even feel is possible, it's actually not that huge at all, okay? So I'm going to run through with you the steps to how to start homeschooling. Now I could sit down with you all and have cups of tea for hours and talk about the pathways for homeschooling, okay? But in reality, we don't have that time. Every week I'll add extras to this, and hopefully that gives those mums asking questions, desperate for answers, some guidance in which direction to go, okay? I started homeschooling because I wanted my kids to have a love for learning, a passion. I want my kids to change the world. No big expectation. I want them to believe they can. I want them not to have to fit in a box. I want them to dream big and no one to cap that. I believe in my kids, and anything they want to do, I'll make it happen with them. We'll write business plans at 7. You know, currently I'm working with my son. He wants to start a business plan in regards to looking after people's dogs on our property. Okay, 7 years old, he's going to be responsible in that. I'm going to help him. Because if you can have that build and that heart from a young age, that you believe you can do anything, schools can't teach you that. Okay? So I'm going to build my kids up to believe and back them as hard as I can for them to be able to push their passion and their desire in here to fight and learn whatever they want to learn and whatever they desire, whatever they're good at. I could never homeschool. I promise you, if your 8-year-old can learn year 2 math, so can you. Okay? So believe in yourself as much as you believe in your child. Now, all of us have started where you are right now. If you're questioning, and you're wondering where to go, and you figure it's really impossible, and you don't want to be that weird family, okay? That was me. I didn't want to be a weird homeschooler. Aren't they weird? Yeah, we are, all right? But I didn't do it. I'm a normal person. We're a normal family, okay? So you need to if that's what you want to do, you need to take that step. So my number 1 tip is get on and start Googling what your state requirements are. Every state, every country, no matter where you're watching this, the rules are different for homeschooling. Some people don't have to do any reporting and some people do have to do a lot of reporting. So find out what your requirements are, and that's going to make your process easier. It's not harder, it's just the guidelines that help you step by step go through what's expected. Okay? Find out what they are. That's going to help. That's going to be your first process into starting homeschooling. And what I do to follow on that, I also print out my state's requirements per child for the year, and that goes into a folder, and I incorporate what we're learning over here and I drag it over to make sure I'm meeting the curriculum syllabus, okay, and ticking the boxes off. And what that does is it gets rid of any of those meltdowns that we have when we're wondering if we're doing a good enough job, or if we are ticking any boxes. My gosh, I've been doing it for 6 months and I feel like my child's going backwards, or has he learnt anything? And you can pull out that folder and go, you know what, tick, 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 and put it away for the term. Have your goals, set your goals, and then you'll know that you're hitting state requirements, but you're in charge. So, and it gives you a bit of that freedom, which is what we want as homeschoolers. It's teaching that love, have that freedom to teach that love of learning. Step number 2, join, look, find your homeschooling groups, okay? Facebook. That was was my outlet. That's probably one of the reasons that I believe we can homeschool these days and keep our children so socially involved is Facebook. So I'll have some links below, and you'll be able to start diving into groups. Now, we are all passionate homeschoolers on these Facebook groups. So drop questions. No questions too silly. We've all been there. We've all asked the question, how do we start? What do we do? Okay? So ask the questions. You'll probably get your answer 10 times over. What they do there also is they advertise social gatherings and gymnastics and basketball and all the activities that they have on for homeschooling children. So all of a sudden that will take off some of that burden of the worry of socialising for you guys. Get on and start checking them out. Step number 3 is figure out what do you want homeschooling to look like in your family. Do you want school at home? Do you want homeschooling? Do you want unschooling? Do you want radical unschooling? I could go on and on and on and on and on. So start Googling what type of homeschooling styles are out there, and that'll figure out what that will work for your family. And then you can start applying that to how you want to teach your children. Step number 4, and I've said this before in my previous video, I'll have the link up somewhere. Make sure you figure out what your whole family wants. This isn't just about you, and this just isn't about your child. This is about your whole family. So figure out what style they envision and figure out what style your husband envisions and get everyone on board. If you're working really hard and everyone else isn't on board, it's not going to work. Okay? Lay your expectations out at the start. When I first started homeschooling, we actually all sat around and wrote why we want to homeschool. Because in those moments when things are falling apart and you're questioning everything, we sit back and we reflect on this. Why do we homeschool? And you will have those moments where you're wondering, why are you doing this? Okay? So sit down together. Write why you want to do it. Do a pro, do a cons list. All right? Figure out who's on board 100% and who's questioning and what concerns you have. I guarantee you it probably won't be the children that have the issues. All right? A lot of the time, husbands, their biggest concern is the social aspect. So make sure when you're bringing this to the table that you've researched with your Facebook and you've got the appropriate response. It's so simple, but it's such a stigma that comes with homeschooling. The next thing you should do, and it's the only thing you should buy at this stage, is buy a big calendar, as big as you can get. Okay, because that's going to be what you pencil in what you're doing, where you're heading, what ideas you want to do, what the kids want to learn about, when you're going to do it. And it's only grey lead. Don't make anything permanent. And if it doesn't work for that week, you can push it to the next week. Again, the joys of homeschooling. Clearly, your calendar is not going to be used for socialising activities, okay? Let's be clear, all right? I wish. Sometimes I struggle with the amount my kids socialise to be able to figure out, guys, we have to do bookwork, okay? This schooling, let's do some schooling. I've said previously, I sit down with my kids, I figure out what they want to learn about, and I incorporate that into the syllabus. So I'll give you an example. My eldest wouldn't read, didn't want to read, every time he could read, but he didn't want to. So how do you teach a child to read who isn't even interested? So this boy had a passion for Lego. Now I'm going to make this sound so simple. There was a lot of blood, sweat and tears in all of this, so please don't think that I'm sugarcoating this. I sat with him and I got him to start telling me verbally these Lego stories that he was creating when he played. And after a week of that, I then sat next to him and I'd start scribing, writing down his stories as he played, what was happening. And all of a sudden, he'd say, Mum, come and sit next to me, write this story. So I'd start writing these stories, and then all of a sudden he wanted me to read them back to him. So then we sat down together and we typed up these stories. He drew the pictures, and then all of a sudden when people came over, he wanted to start reading these stories to people. Get where I'm going? He desired to read when it was on his terms, when it was on his passion. Now, am I saying that kids have to do everything that they're passionate about all the time and it's always fun? No, but it's so important to me. One of my things was teaching a love for reading. So for him, tick. My next child, he could read anything, he just didn't want to. He would if I did, but was with no heart. And thankfully I discovered for him, his trigger was Garfield. So I bought him Garfield comics at a market one day, the whole collection, of course. And to this day, we have one in every room, and every day we sit down and they'll come to me and go, Mum, 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 look at this, read this, and they're laughing hysterically. Don't look at the bottom, Mum, Mum. So it's also figuring out what ticks your child's boxes. You guys know, none of us learn the same. My husband and I learn totally different, as do my children. Another story there, when we first started homeschooling, we had to do a diagnostic test. But I knew nothing at that point. You don't have to do a diagnostic test, by the way. So we sat down, and my first child, who's very diligent, sat down, and he had 40 minutes, took 40 minutes to do the test. He got everything correct, everything was perfect, not one mark, everything was on the line, absolutely amazing. Off he went. My second child, 16 months apart, but he's brilliant, he did the same test, and he fluffed about for about 36 minutes. Why did he have to do it? What's Tyrus doing? I wonder what Dad's doing, jumping around. Same test. He flew through the last 4 minutes of the test, scribbling down answers. I thought, what a waste. I later checked the test. It was a mess, but everything was 100%. Same result, different journey, different path. So don't teach your children the same if they are not. It doesn't work. Figure out what makes them go. The next thing is curriculum. Now this is a big thing for people because a lot of people feel like they had to rush out and go and buy whatever they think is going to work. Okay? And I promise you, where you start today will not be where you're going to be in 6 months or 12 months. So don't rush out and spend $1,500 on a curriculum that realistically after a month you're going to be working through so hard with your son because it doesn't fit him. So do your research there. I'm going to soon have a video up on curriculum because pretty much I've tried most of the curriculums out there to find what's right for my family, and I can save you a lot of wasting time. So whether or not the curriculum is going to be a whole pack that you can buy, or if it's going to be literature based, or you're going to do your own thing and be an eclectic, or you're going to totally unschool, whatever that is, just breathe. Don't spend any money. If you have to start working and doing some workbooks straight away, go to your local bookshop, Big W, and buy the books there that are appropriate to a child's age and start working through with them there. But that's just to get you started if you have to. But don't forget, at first you've just got to go through this experience. I'm going to talk about deschooling here. My last tip in this journey, if this is what you're deciding to do and you start it, don't start hard in routine and structure and expect them to go straight away and obey and listen. No, it's not going to work. You need to really pull back and really start to reteach a love for learning. And that process is called deschooling, all right? Check it out, research it, deschooling. It's a term, it's real. Okay, and what that means is basically unravel everything they've been taught in school and how to be taught. And then all of a sudden, you watch it go. I love when a child comes up to me and says they're bored because that's just before something amazing is going to happen. And you'll see, they'll come up and say you're bored and I'll say, awesome, cool, you wait, it's coming. And 10 minutes later, I'm looking at them going, I told you, as they're in the midst of a huge project that they've now decided they're going to do because their brains had the ability to think about it. So, deschooling, it's unraveling what you've been taught. Go through that process. That is the most important part. If you haven't deschooled, you can't homeschool. You've got to build that love in here to get your children to then have a desire to want to learn. Okay? You've got to make it fun for them. And first they have to unravel everything they've learned. So I hope I've taken off that edge and not made the jump seem so high for you guys who are thinking about homeschooling. All right, go away and do the research, have a look, and you'll find that we all were where you were. So if you've got any questions and you want me to answer them, shoot them through. But I hope this has helped, Mum. I hope this has motivated you to want to go and get this started, all right, and kick butt. All right, mums, have a great night. See ya. Bye.